Good morning. Let's try this again. Welcome back to Behind the Gavel with Jason. It's been a couple of months since I've done a show. We moved to our new facility 4 months ago and are still in the process of transitioning. The old building will go on the market here, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. But right now we are in the new facility and it's working out really, really, really well. We had our first big auction end on this last Monday night. 500 lots, over 100 pieces of furniture. There was no way we could have done that type of an auction in the old facility. There just physically was not enough space. And here there was more than enough space. There was still room to move around with all that merchandise in the building. And so we're really excited about that. Let's talk about Behind the Gavel with Jason real quick. Again, hiatus because of the move. You can tell my office is the last place to get dolled up. So hopefully within the next week or two, I'll have artwork on the walls behind me. I can't even find my good microphone, so this is going right through the computer. So it's moving is always a challenge and fun, but excited to be back, excited to see everybody. We have some really great guests coming up soon for the show. Let me give you a quick brief of that. And if you have any questions or tell us where you're watching from, that'd be awesome. Love to see where people are previewing in from. And of course, if you have any questions, please post them below. If you have any comments, let us know, and we'll be happy to answer them during the show today or in the future as we see these messages come up. Some of our upcoming guests. Duane Scott Cerny. He's an author who wrote Selling Dead People's Things. You might also know him. He started Chicago Broadway Antique Mall in Chicago, one of the biggest antique malls in the country. And he wrote this book, Selling Dead People's Things, which is a really fascinating book I found and read. He's going to be a guest on the show. We'll talk about that. Hadley Keller, editor and digital director of House Beautiful, is going to come on the show and talk about how millennials are dominating the market anymore. Dominating might be a bit of a strong word, but the millennial market, after years of being talked about negatively, is really coming into their own. We've been talking about this for years and been seeing it, but the marketplace is seeing it as well. Hadley is a millennial, and we're excited to talk to her. She brings a really fantastic perspective on that market. And we'll talk about some of the things as to why that is, why has it taken so long for millennials to get involved in the antique market, and things like that. And where they're buying and where they're looking is completely different than the traditional sources. They're using a lot of digital resources to curate the collections in their home. In 2 weeks, Sarah Reeder, who you might recognize, been on the show before. We were interviewed by her magazine as well. She's going to talk about the cultural impact of the last year, and that could be a dozen different topics, right? Being quarantined at home, being stuck at home, working from home is all really interesting things. But also, there was a lot of social and civil unrest and discourse in the country over the last year. How is that affecting markets and appraisals today, and how will it continue to do so in the future? I think that's a really fascinating topic. We've seen some things internally that are interesting. I'm just curious as to what somebody who's appraisal and monitors the market from a different lens, what kind of information she'll bring to the conversation and experiences that we won't have because we're in different parts of the country. Sarah's in Virginia, and again, she's an appraiser by training. She's also a publisher of Worthwhile magazine, which you may recall we did. She interviewed us about that last year. We're also going to have Liz Lidgett from Liz Lidgett Galleries up in Des Moines. Liz has been very active on Instagram in many different topics. One of the things that's really fascinating, she's been talking about how art makes a statement, and art is important and powerful. The pieces that you use to illustrate and commentate on different things. There's been a lot of conversation around the art that presidents use, President Biden versus President Trump, the artwork that they surround themselves with or have in photo opportunities, right? All of that art in those photos is staged and thought of for a reason. And Liz has done a really great job of looking at what is he signing or talking about in relation to the art, or vice versa. How does the artwork he's choosing or his staff is choosing relate to whatever legislation he's considering passing or talking about? Really fascinating. And of course, the White House has access to the Smithsonian collections. And so they have basically a world's worth of artwork to choose from. And so it's been really cool to see what he uses, what they use, and then what other people have said about it, and why it usually it helps to define and embolden whatever legislation they're using. So it's really a different kind of a thought process other than just having static portraits in the background. They're using very specific pieces to talk about the issues that are important to them. So those are some of the guests we have already scheduled. We're going to reach out to a bunch of those who've already been guests on us before. We'll talk about jewelry, I'm sure, international antiques business. We've got a great cast of guests who've been on for the last couple of years, and we're approaching many more. If you are someone we should be talking to, love to talk to you about being on the show, or if you know somebody else, it would be great for our viewers or you to hear about. Let us know. We'd love to just know that. Yes, Damien, every piece has importance for some reason, and he does have a bust of Cesar Chavez in his office. We're not talking about the politics of it, we're talking about the importance of the art he chooses. And the same goes for every president and for everybody in general. When I put art behind me, it's because it means something to me. But it's going to be a fascinating conversation, and I'm really looking forward to talking to Liz about that. We're also going to talk about with Liz, maybe not that episode, but another episode, women in the arts, how they're grossly misrepresented in the world of arts as far as creators of. There are a lot of women working in the roles of art in museums and such that, but the amount of art that's represented by galleries who are made by women artists, creators, is really, really minimal. And so we're going to talk to Liz about that as well. As far as the KC Auction Company goes, we're as busy as we've ever been. We brought in a new woman, Kelsey Gillespie, to work with us part-time to help us process the entire the scope of work we're doing. I believe we have 5 or 6 auctions scheduled right now. We have KC Symphony Alliance Secret Art Auction closes Sunday. Kansas City, the Symphony of the Flint Hills auction is online. That goes until June. We just uploaded the Paul Mester Puppets auction. Next week, we're working on a jewelry auction with a baseball card collection auction coming up soon. We also have the Dst Corporate Art Collection coming up in June. It's really exciting. A couple hundred pieces of some really great pieces. Mark English, Good, Lisa Grossman, Harleen Bennett. A lot of great regional artists that were collected from I want to say the mid to late 80s through about 10 years ago. And DST sold a couple of years ago to SS&C out of Delaware, and combination of the acquisition and the pandemic and the changing roles of office space in corporate America, they've decided to sell the big building downtown. And before they want to do that, or in conjunction with that, they decided it's time to sell the art collection that was housed there. And there's, like I said, some really impressive pieces, some really great Kansas City pieces. The Good piece, Good is Thomas Hart Benton's grandson and paints much in the style of Benton. There's a mural-like painting of the Kansas City skyline that's just an epic, epic piece. The Lisa Grossman pieces of the Flint Hills, basically water flowing through the pastures. So that's going to be an exciting auction as well. So great things coming up, great things online right now. You know we love art. Since in the last couple months we had our art auction, the 2 symphony related art auctions. Now we have the DST art collection auction coming up. So we have a lot of art coming through the building or through our service, and we're excited about that. But that's about all we'll talk about today. Excited to announce we're going to come back up. Hopefully by next week, I'll have my regular microphone, so it sounds a little bit better. We'll work on some lighting, get something behind me that looks pretty, because I'm not. And we'll see how it goes. Thank you all so much again for watching. If you have questions, comments, concerns, ask them below. But you can always drop us an email at info@kcauctioncompany.com. Give us a phone call at 816-283-3633. You've been watching Behind the Gavel with Jason, and you can always find us at kcauctioncompany.com. All of our current auctions are on the front page. Frequently asked questions, information that we're talking about is all throughout the website. Please share this with your friends, ask us questions. We look forward to seeing you again soon. Have a great afternoon.